Freak-off workers exposed. Pictures have been released via the prosecution of a lot of the men that Diddy basically hired for these freak-offs. We've always, assumed that these men would be in masks or that they would be unknown and we wouldn't know who they are. Well, their faces have all been dropped. And Diddy and these practices that he's doing or that he's done in these freak-offs could be a lot more deeper and darker than we initially thoughts. Hey guys, it's Murad Murali, daily and consistent content, back at it again with another video. Do subscribe and click that button and let's get straight into this video. So this is a hot topic that I'm pretty sure everybody is speaking about right now, but basically the faces of Diddy's freak-offs have finally been exposed. And as you can see, here are some of the faces of these alleged workers, and you can see 4 of them here, and I just feel like all 4 of them, in a very bizarre way, look quite similar to Jonathan Oddie. I just feel like they all have a specific feature that Oddie has as well, and that this is clearly what Diddy liked. He was the one that obviously accepted these men, accepted the physical traits. This is, basically Diddy's type. I feel like we're on a Diddy dating show, and these are the people that obviously he selected to go into the next rounds. Call it Flavor of Love or Diddy of Love, whatever you want to call it, Flavor Flav. But I just feel like this is basically what Diddy's type is. He likes this masculine, rugged type to hold him dear at night, and of course do all of this stuff, wearing masks, oil, and then of course this ties into my second topic. So this is why I wanted to put these 2 videos together. And basically he would ask these men as well as himself to urinate on Cassie, and then also do a lot of certain practices. So Jonathan Oddie, of course, was one of them, and it is crazy to me how Jonathan Oddie has been vindicated in the past couple of weeks, because a lot of people thought that this man was just high on something, talking nonsensical stuff, even when we discussed it initially a year ago or so when all of those things got released. But clearly, as we can see, there are several other men that not only look like him but also basically are part of these freak-offs. Also somebody else called Jake as well. So there were many workers, an LA-based man named Jake, a Miami-based black man named Craig, a New York-based black man named Brian on Craigslist, and a white man named Skyler featured on the companion service Cowboys for Angels. I believe one of these people is even in prison right now as well, outside of Oddie. So this is a interesting list of these people. I think it's so messy, guys, that then faces have finally been unmasked, because everybody is speaking about the snapshot of these male escorts that were specifically hired. And I do wonder why these men, what was it about these men that Diddy loved? And there are plenty of these, a batch of all of this men. Who would have thunk it, guys, that at this moment of time, when Cassie's lawsuit first came out, that we would be in a position that we would be looking at a list of men that Diddy was hiring to take part in all of this madness that he was doing. Remember, whilst Diddy hired these men to do things with Cassie, these men clearly have something that Diddy doesn't, aka Tootsie Roll, aka living the short life, aka shrimp bestie. So I just feel like because of that, I feel like he hired men to carry out certain things for him to do to Cassie, unfortunately, that he could not do. He was living through these men, and then I'm pretty sure that these men had their way with him as well. These are the men that he probably was given the Glock 3000 to. Probably the Glock 4000 edition 2.0 special job. I can go on and on about what Diddy could have been doing to all of these men. I don't think that it's just about what these men did to Cassie. It's about what these men did to Diddy. Again, this is the Diddy dating show. So the fact that these people have been unmasked, to me, is so messy. And the fact that it's gotten to the journalists, to articles, to the press, and everybody is probably speaking about this right now as well. Several other pictures have also been released. One of Cassie, of course, with a significant scar on her eyebrow due to what Diddy had done. And then several images of what Agent Binder had found in the hotel in New York when Diddy was arrested. And you can see in images, you can see pink powder, you can see several different bottles, you can see also medicine that he clearly wanted to basically reduce his anxiety, which basically I feel like was mainly used to mix with certain stuff to make him very high, to make everything slow, for when he wanted to have his last freak-offs before he was arrested. But this ties into my next topic, where there has been a large amount of conversation online from many creators about how Diddy could be using the semen in relation to what he was doing as a form of sex kind of magic, some ritual magic, some kind of dark matter and I was looking into this, something called hoodoo, and you have voodoo, you have many of these occult practices, different forms of sex magic that can be done, where one of them is basically you can urinate in, a woman's mouth or a man's mouth, whatever you want to call it, and basically that specific person has only eyes for you. So I genuinely feel like Diddy was using this kind of magic, this kind of, ritual sex magic. I feel like he was doing this to make sure that the women that he was picking were only bounded by him and therefore kind of prisoners of him, and basically using it to cast some kind of sex related spell on these people so that he has complete control over them, complete dominion over them as well. And I felt like he recruited specific men to do stuff like this for him as well, especially when it comes to how he asked one of them to urinate in her mouth to the point where she was choking. Also, when it comes to these specific men, I think they have things that Diddy doesn't, and clearly he would ask these men to release themselves, and then you would tell Cassie specifically to rub that around his specific areas on his body. And I think that was being done because a love spell was basically being casted. And I feel like Diddy believes in stuff like this. I feel like he believes in the occult. He practices magic. He practices different forms of, casting these controlling spells so that he could benefit and elevate. Diddy gives me that impression that he would do anything to elevate himself, and clearly him becoming a billionaire amongst all of these predatory people around him, I definitely believe so. As I said to you guys in a couple of videos ago, I believe that Diddy was ran through by a lot of the men who were executives above, who were probably A, casting spells on him, or B, just using him as some kind of toy because, Diddy was wanting something in exchange, which was profit, business, power, and money and wealth, or that's basically been snatched from him because he got way too excited. So I feel like Diddy was using these men to cast spells as well, or help expedite or alleviate them as well, because when you look into the description of some forms of hoodoo, there is stuff like that in regards to urination and in regards to semen, where you can use it to make somebody, the opposite person or the person that you want, to be bounded to you. And I think this is what he wanted Cassie to be, as well as anybody else, which could explain why she was also with Diddy for a very long time, but also that these spells, probably didn't work. Maybe he was doing it wrong and he was going to the, right or wrong people. Gene Deal himself spoke about the fact that how Diddy, before the 1991, hearing in regard to the shooting, he went and met somebody and did some stuff with a dove, and then he threw the dove up and the bird died immediately, some kind of magic that he was doing, and Gene was watching from the car and was completely shocked. Diddy has always been into stuff like this, so I felt like he was told, you can do these practices, these kind of sexual related practices, so that these people that you want can be bound to you, you can control them, you have dominion over them, they're not going to leave you because you've casted this kind of sex spell on them. And I think that in order to do stuff like that, this is why he wanted to do the freak-offs. This is why he felt like certain things were needed, like baby oil and masks and etc. And outside of that, he is an absolute ego maniac. He would just cause so much DV when it comes to Cassie or anybody else. The stories that are coming out are absolutely horrific, but the fact that he felt like Cassie was spending way too much time in the bathroom, and then he would basically drag her and she ran and hid in the woods, it's just stories that you hear out of a horror movie. And so I think Diddy was heavily into this, and so I was going to discuss the whole sexual related stuff that Diddy was doing, but now that the freak-off men have been unmasked, I thought I would relate it and put it in one video together, because I think this is what this man was doing. 110%. He wanted to keep Cassie, he wanted to keep Kim or anybody else, and when he realized that Kim was going to do XYZ, certain things weren't working, he had to off that person. When certain things don't work, you delete somebody. When certain things don't work, you then obviously become very violent. And so I think that he was using these spells to keep these people around him. He wanted like some, them as toys. And he was told by certain people that you can practice these occult forms of magic, and, you can use other men's stuff as well to help you get to these certain places and cast these spells. Very dark energy, very dark matter. And that's why he is where he is. I feel like he messed with the wrong forces, messed with the wrong people, got way too excited, power trip, ego trip, and it all just went left, tumbling down. And those same executives above him are taking everything away from him that they gave him, because they know that he's gotten way too excited. We don't want our names lit up. This is why I feel like any and every celebrity that you are looking at right now is placed there to be there for a specific reason, to relay a specific message. They're not there on their own merit or talent, because there are probably 15, 20,000 people out there in this big world who are probably more talented and could, reach those positions. They are there, not that they're not talented, they obviously are, the ones that we're seeing in the public sphere, but they have obviously been put there by people above them for a specific message or reason. They're all toys, and they all are sacrificing something, or all, willing to do something, or are basically being governed and controlled. They're not these powerful entities that you think they are. These celebrities, or whoever they may be, they are not a powerful entity. They have people above them controlling them that can take away everything that they have basically been given. And this is one thing that we should definitely take away from the Diddy stuff, is that he was never this powerful billionaire huge person. Yes, he had claimed all of that wealth, but look who's taken it all away from him and where he's sitting right now. Because if you were really that powerful, and if you were really that guy, that could never happen to you. And every single musician that we know about, no matter how much of a music mogul they are, can have everything snatched away from them in absolute seconds. They think that they're probably protected, but in actuality, they aren't. This is why a lot of people in Hollywood who are very powerful are not speaking about Diddy, and are just very worried and scared about it, and are on their best behavior. But yeah, these are the freak-off men that Diddy was hiring so that they can do all the fun that they had. And to be honest with you, I do wonder where these men are, what they're thinking, and why they haven't come forward and said anything, because who knows what they did to Cassie on Diddy's orders. And it's just, quite sad and scary. At least Jonathan Oddie tried to speak out. I mean? I feel like the others have just kept complete quiet, not said a word, not said anything. But I think that Diddy was using these men to also help cast spells, and it is just a very deep-seated conversation, dark energy, and purely demonic. I feel like this is what Diddy is. He is a demonic entity, and I'm not even saying that for salaciousness or, a conspiracy. I genuinely feel like Diddy was practicing kind of demonic energy because he felt that he could make him, formidable. And when a man becomes delusional in their power, that is when they fall. When a man becomes delusional in their power, that is when they fall. That is why so many empires fall. Every empire will always fall, because men purely become delusional and they go absolutely insane. And they become a manic. They become the worst enemy of themselves. And in that process, they lose themselves. And in that process, they become blind to it. You can all have a mad day as long as you come back to yourself. Or if you don't come back to yourself, which why a lot of people, empires, entities fall, it's just a dangerous game. If it ain't a helicopter in the sky, it's a fox outside, guys. I don't understand what the hell is going on, but there's always something. There's always something going on. But that's what happens when you live in a city. Anyways, subscribe to the channel, guys. Comment down below. Give this video a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Want to know your comments on this. Want to know what your thoughts are on this whole conversation. Maybe you guys know more than me from the research that I'm doing and from what I'm seeing online. But everybody is speaking about the freak-off guys and people that have been unmasked. And I thought I would relate it to the conversation of Diddy and spells. One click to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys soon for another video.